Yo, what's up guys, Bajheera here. This is going to be a big exciting video because I feel like honestly 8.3 has probably been one of my favorite patches in WoW ever. And the most recent change that we're going to talk about here really just solidifies that even more. So the big announcement for today is that they actually put in a corruption vendor, which is crazy because you guys know that patch 8.3, one of the big things about it has been corruption. And corruption has been a very powerful tool for making your character a whole lot stronger at the cost of some negative side effects, especially once you stack up a ton of corruption. But one of the things that was kind of tough about it is, although there were ways of receiving guaranteed corruptions, like certain items always had Twilight Devastation on it, for example, like the sword from Azeroth, and other raid weapons had guaranteed corruptions on it. And there were ways of getting guaranteed corrupted items, like your weekly boxes, if it wasn't a trinket or a piece of Azerite loot, would be corrupted. Those corruptions that you received were still random, and it felt a little bit tough to get exactly what you were looking for. And even though, like, if you got a really good corruption, it made you really powerful, right? If you were lucky, that was a big, exciting moment. I think somewhere along the line, there's definitely some frustration for not being able to just build your character the way you want. And although I really like the corruption system, I think this is like one of those things that I was like, man, it'd be so cool if there was a corruption vendor where you could grind for resources and then use those resources to purchase corruption and then actually put it on the items that you want. And they have done that, which is awesome. And I think it's okay that they did this a little bit later on. It allows you to have those really, whoa, exciting moments, the highs and the lows of, I got really lucky, got an awesome corruption, or, you know, man, I'm bummed I didn't get the good stuff that I wanted. It's okay to have that early on, I think. But now that we're kind of a little, the patch has matured, I feel like now's the time to really get excited about this corruption vendor. So let me go take a look at this and explain a little bit how it works. So it's not going to have every single corruption available all the time. It's going to have a selection of certain corruptions that will eventually cycle through all corruptions at all like levels of strength. And it resets every time the assaults reset, so it resets twice a week. The currency that you use are Echoes of Ny'alotha, and some of the concern was that if your main wasn't able to earn Echoes of Ny'alotha, you're going to be behind. And that is true to an extent. If you weren't earning Echoes of Ny'alotha on your main because you had all the essences available, that's a bit of a bummer. Fortunately, the rate that Echoes of Ny'alotha drop has been increased 5 times, so it won't take you very long to catch up. So don't stress about that. But you can buy these ones. So for example, this week we have the Mastery Proc, Mastery from All Sources 2. We have Haste from All Sources rank 3, which is huge for a lot of classes, but especially for Arms Warriors and PvE. We have Ineffable Truth, which is powerful for Paladins, I know. We have Strike Through, which some people like. And we have rank 3 Twisted Appendage, which costs a lot. So they have various prices based on what they are and probably their rank as well. And it looks like you're going to be able to buy, I don't know, maybe grind up at like maybe even 1 or 2 a week, depending, because these little Echoes of Ny'alotha drop from raid bosses. They drop from PvP. I think they even drop from BGs. They drop from emissaries, and they drop from doing visions. So those are the ways that you can farm these things up. And so what you do is you buy a corruption off the vendor, and then you just click it on your item. And one of the concerns also was initially you weren't able to add corruptions to items that were cleansed. So the way it is now is that as long as you cleanse the item as of when the vendor came out, you can then add the corruption to the item. It is currently the case as of this video that you can't add corruption to items that were cleansed prior to this whole thing coming out. But I don't think that's what they intend. I think that they're probably going to work on that. Somebody is popping off in the yell. But another thing that's kind of strange is you also can't currently add corruption to crafted items. I don't know if that's intended as well. So some of these things are sort of developing as we go. But it's really, really cool that they put it in the game in general. And I think it's a really, really neat way to give players a whole bunch more to theory craft, a whole bunch more to plan about how they want to build their character, a whole bunch more to work towards in terms of the grind. And the weekly cycle, I'm not 100% sure why they didn't just release them all at once, but I think part of this is just to keep people engaged keep people logging in to see what corruptions are available, and to probably really force you to once again make these decisions. So for me, an example of the decision is, do I buy Expedient now, or do I wait for versatility later, or things like that, which I think leads us into the next point of discussion, which is, okay, so what corruptions do I buy? You know, what's good for me? I made a video talking about my corruptions a little while ago, but one of the things that's going on here, sorry, Ranger, we're gonna have to go to no chat here, buddy. One of the things that's going on here is Gushing Wounds, one of the corruptions that I thought was really, really exciting. It was a rare one. It was a powerful one. It has gotten nerfed, or it will be nerfed as of next patch. So it's the one that just puts a dot on your opponents. It costs 15 corruption. It does scale with item level. So what ends up happening is you can stack a lot of these Gushing Wounds and end up dealing a ton of damage just from Gushing Wounds. And I think the idea was it was rare, so it's okay if it was powerful. But now that people are going to be able to go to the vendor and buy 8 Gushing Wounds and put it on their character, and then have over half their damage come from just Gushing Wounds, they decided to nerf it by 35%. So I think Gushing Wounds, if stacked a ton, will still do a whole lot of damage. But I think that what's going to end up happening for a lot of classes, and warriors especially, so listen up, warriors, I'm talking to you. I think the corruption that you're really going to want is versatility from all sources. I have quite a few of those on my gear already. I have 2 sets. I have one that's sort of focused on versatility from all sources, and I have one that's focused on having a little bit of Gushing Wounds. My stats look okay in both of them. But the idea here is to really stack that versatility. What ends up happening is it makes you do more damage, makes you take a little less damage, and it's just an overall solid bet, right? For warrior, consistent damage dealing class, versatility is pretty solidly the way to go. After that, I do think that these haste from all sources are going to be really, really good. Just because it's one of those things that makes your rotation smoother. It has really good interaction with anger management. And it just makes you generate more rage and deal more damage. So haste is definitely a really good stat for you in PvP as well. It is definitely your best stat, or best corruption, I should say, for Arms Warrior PvE. So if you guys are Arms Warriors in PvE, run to this vendor, crank out as many of these guys as you can, and hang on to them, even if you can't wear them all right now, because that's going to be really, really good for you in PvE. I'm still playing Fury for PvE, but this is making me think about playing some Arms as well. And where Gushing Wounds falls on this whole thing, I'm not 100% sure. I think it could still be super fun to stack it up really, really high. What ends up happening, though, is that versatility, I think, deals a very similar amount of damage when you stack versatility corruptions. It deals a lot of similar damage to Gushing Wounds, except that Gushing Wounds doesn't have the trade-off or the advantage of damage reduction as well. And I think what's going to happen later on is people are pretty much going to be stacking a ton of versatility in high-rated arena, and it's not going to really... I hope it doesn't really turn into a tank fest, but it very well could. With the Gushing Wound nerfs, it makes me think that versatility is going to be kind of the even safer way to go. Because before it was like, okay, Gushing Wound, do I take Gushing Wound for fun and deal a lot of damage without the damage reduction effect? Or do I play it safe and solid and go with versatility? And I think that since Gushing Wound got nerfed, versatility is going to be very solidly the way to go. But if you want to get some Gushing Wound in there, after you get some good stats set up with versatility and haste, maybe you do that. The versatility proc is also one to consider. I don't think it's as solid as just straight up amplifying your baseline versatility that scales with all your procs from like essences and traits and things like that, and trinkets. But a versatility proc can definitely be a huge spike in damage, and if it's a pretty huge spike in defensive utility as well. So those are the ones to look out for Arms Warriors or for PvP, is versatility from all sources, haste from all sources, Gushing Wounds if you have a ton of Echoes of Nyalotha to use, or you want to just mess around in BGs. I think Gushing Wound is still really cool, and depending on when it comes up in the rotation, I might grab a few just for fun. But right now, my main objective is getting my versatility from all sources up, getting my haste from all sources up, and pretty much just rolling with that. Some other fun things to consider are maybe some Ineffable Truth to make your cooldowns come back up faster. Having your stun come off cooldown, having your pummel come back off cooldown, having your die by the sword and leap and charge come off cooldown. I'm not sure if it affects all those things, but if it does, I mean, that's actually pretty powerful, and it might be worth looking into. It's just at this point, the main decision has to be made around, do I want to sacrifice versatility for this? That's kind of where it's at. But that's the kind of thing that I'm thinking about right now. And for for Fury, in terms of PvE, for PvP, I think Fury is still a lot of haste verse. I'm still not really sold on Fury PvP. I haven't been doing as much experimentation just because Arms is effective and fun, I think. But for PvE, I think Fury is going to need to look out for crit from all sources. Gushing Wounds still might be an option. I think for single target, I still like Infinite Stars. For AoE, I still like Twilight Devastation. But Gushing Wound is probably still going to be something to consider. I need to test it out more after the nerfs. I have 3 Gushing Wound pieces, so I can do that. I can test it out. Because it's definitely just good, consistent damage. I think a lot of my favorite builds for early on in the raid are Infinite Stars builds, but then later on in the raid, I've been using Twilight Devastation and Gushing Wounds and doing a fair amount of damage. And if you added some crit from all sources to that setup from the vendor, I mean, it could be pretty powerful. So now I know that was going to be one of the big questions when we have access to these corruptions now, is you have more agency in terms of your theory crafting and in terms of the direction that you want to take your character. And I definitely wanted to make a quick video talking to you guys about this change because it's very exciting. I thought this would be so cool for the patch. I really love how we have the option for, at least in PvP, to upgrade your gear, right? You have these tokens to upgrade your gear. Through grinding visions, you can get corrupted mementos and buy sockets for your gear. And now the cherry on top, we can actually add corruption. And the fact that we have to grind for the resource, I think that makes sense to me. I don't mind. I don't mind the grind. But it's just super exciting that we can play around with this stuff. And you can have different builds, right? You can have different gear builds for Gushing Wounds. You have different gear builds for a super haste focus, for versatility focus. And you can test all these things out. And it's actually, like, you know, not in a test environment, right? It's like your real character. And you can take this into PvP, you can take this into BGs, and you can do some really fun stuff. And I'm looking forward to testing all that stuff out, making cool builds, seeing what's powerful, and of course having a variety of sets probably by the end of the PvP season, into the expansion, to go nuts with. This is definitely going to shake up the game, though. It's gonna be big. I think that having people run around with corruptions is going to be pretty wild for raiding. It's going to be pretty wild for PvP. And although I was thinking that the corruption vendor is going to be a really, really cool idea, and I still do, I'm also prepared for the possibility that this could really shake things up and make it a crazy, crazy game. But that's one of the things I've liked about patch 8.3 is it feels pretty wild. And not every patch has to be like this. I understand that, but I've loved this one. I feel like it's been really fast-paced in terms of the gameplay. It's been really, really fun to do all the theory crafting, and it's been exciting to see, you know, what kind of corruptions you can get, and even has brought me into mythic raiding. It's brought me into gold farming to try to buy BOEs with awesome corruptions on it. So this patch has just been a big expansion in terms of the way I play the game, the way I enjoy the game, and now this particular edition of it has been awesome. I think the pacing of it has been okay too, you know? It starts off where the grind is important, where you have to get your cloak. It takes some effort to do that. It takes some effort to grind up your essences, and as time goes on, they make it a little bit easier for people to catch up or for people to grind up. And I think that pacing has been good too. It's always kind of on that edge of like, ooh, this is tough. I want more power on my character, but it's gonna take a while to get there. And I think that pull of making you want to continue to progress your character has been paced well. And now this is, like I said, like kind of the cherry on top. This is really setting players loose to enjoy this patch, and that's my plan. But hopefully this video has been informative to you guys in terms of the changes that have been made. And things probably still will change. I bet you'll be able to eventually corrupt pieces that you cleansed prior to this patch. I hope eventually you'll be able to corrupt crafted pieces, because that would be awesome. And hopefully we'll see how those nerfs pan out as well. But that's pretty much what I wanted to cover for this video. I'm very excited if you couldn't tell. Hopefully you guys are excited too. I also wanted to give you guys a quick idea of what to look out for in terms of corruption for PvP, PvE as Arms and Fury. And I'm sure a lot of the classes are going to be, you know, looking to stack their best stats as well. And hopefully that makes sense to all you guys. But either way, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. We'll try to keep you guys posted as things continue to change in this patch. And of course, we got to get some more Shadowlands content out for you as well. But to be honest, I've been really enjoying the heck out of 8.3 and BFA. So the PvP and PvP grind has pretty much had my attention. But we'll keep the content rolling for you. Keep the grind rolling as well. And you guys just keep showing love to the channel, because you're doing a great job with that. But thanks for watching. Appreciate the love. Show the video some love if you enjoyed it in the likes. Leave me a comment and be sure to subscribe for more. But either way, definitely appreciate you tuning in. We'll see you guys on the stream. We'll see you guys in the videos. Peace.